Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I am your host, Redbird, and with me is my buddy BDLG. Bordy, how you doing tonight, brother?
Man, I'm doing good, dude. Just trying to stay healthy, you know what I mean? But doing well. How about you?
Doing good, man. I just hanging out, dude. Hanging out in my basement, recording a podcast with you, man. What a better time could I be having? You know what I'm saying? Here with you. Talking about New World. I'm excited.
Living the dream, baby. Let's go.
So we got a ton of news this week, which is awesome. I think we've said that for the past 3 or 4 weeks now. So the leak or the information train is on its path. You know what I'm saying? They are consistently putting out information now, and we have a lot to go over today. So why don't we hop right in there? So there were 2 articles, and both were kind of put out in the same time frame. One was officially from New World. The other one was from the German website. I'm not even gonna say the name.
Come on, man, you got it, dude.
No, dude, no. The German website that produced the last episode that we talked about, or it was from the same website that the last German website MMO stuff was on, and that had a lot of information in there. So we're going to break down these 2 things in no specific order. We're not going to go over them individually. We kind of have collected a bit of information on the main points in these, and they're pretty huge, man. These are big talking points when it comes to the top or comes to the content in which New World is going to be based around. So we'll hop right in, and the first one that we have, I just lost my Discord, Bordy, is what?
We're going to talk about the letter to the community from Mr. Scott Lane, dude. What did you think about this letter overall, Red? Did you think this is good communication? Was it on time? Are they giving us enough right now or no?
So, the article is based over like all the alpha or the information that they've created from or gathered from the alpha. And so basically they kind of go over some of the statistics that they've been gathering and then kind of what their plans are for the future, what they continue to add in the next build. And they're all working on all of this before they hit closed beta. So it does seem like they aren't showing everything in the pre-alpha or the alpha. They're kind of like holding back some stuff. And kind of, it seems like they're testing it in the background more so than having the alpha testers test it. So I thought it was an okay article as a whole, but it just makes me sad that I'm not in the alpha basically when I read it. So
yeah, I know. Same. I thought the article was good, though. I enjoy the updates, man. They don't have to do that. They don't have to give those to us. So I really enjoyed the fact that they gave us something, and I thought some of the information in the article was very good, too. I would like more. And yes, I would really like to be participating as well. So send me a key, please.
Yeah, if I had them, Bordy, I would definitely have already used it on myself. And then if I had a second one, then yeah, sure. You'd be the next person to get it. So.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So let's just start here. They did express, I believe it was in the official New World post, that they have no plans for full loot open world PvP to return. And they did specify full loot open world PvP, but Bordy, I know you're one of the people, or you're in the group of people that were really looking forward to this game being full loot, and now it kind of seems they're officially announcing that it is not coming back. What is your feelings towards this particular announcement?
I think it's fine because I already knew that it wasn't coming back, man. I claimed that 5-6 weeks ago, probably whenever they took it out. I knew that it wasn't something that was going to come back into the game. The fact of the matter is, for us PvP players, not just PvP players, but for those of us that wanted a full loot PvP MMO, it's a tough pill to swallow, but I'm going to go ahead and say it, man. Like, those games are not very big, and they typically don't last that long. The history of full loot MMOs this day and age just doesn't last very long. And so I want a game that I can play for years. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm hoping that New World provides that experience for me. And I don't think that the player base would sustain long enough for them to provide that with a full loot MMO. It's just facts, right? Like, I want that other than something like Rust, but Rust isn't really an MMO, right? Like, it's a survival game. It's a completely different type of game than what we're talking about here with New World. And so those games just typically don't work. So for me, I'm okay with it. Yes, I wanted full loot PvP, but I'm fine with it because I think for the overall health of the game, it's going to be much, much better. And I think that we're going to have a much larger player base because of that.
Right. And, you know, they do go on. He does kind of elaborate a little bit. He said the vision of New World initially, and again, I think a lot of people, there's conflicting feelings about this because a lot of people felt like they set out to make an open world full loot PvP. But he does kind of make sure that he points out that their goal was initially to make sure they were creating a world where both PvP and PvE players could coexist and complement each other. And they said that they didn't feel like this goal could be obtained in a full loot open world environment. So, you know, it does seem like they've tried to provide this gameplay, you know, this certain amount of gameplay or this certain demographic, you know, a place to or a home in New World, and it just seems like it hadn't worked out. So, you know, we wanted to kind of start with that. That is kind of a Debbie Downer type of message, but we have more positive things along the way. But as for officially, there will be no full loot PvP in New World.
Yeah, which makes me believe that there's not going to be PvP servers either, like on release. I think you were leaning towards them making some of those adjustments, and I was leaning towards them not. And based on this article, and based on them saying that their vision is to create a PvPvE environment across the board, they want everybody to participate in everything. I still do not think we're going to get any kind of PvP servers, any kind of zones. I don't think we're getting any of that. I think we're getting these missions that we talked about last week and the opt-in PvP and whatever. And based on what we've read so far, it seems like these systems are going to work. So I'm okay with it, man. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Okay, so here's the thing and we have talked a lot about this in previous episodes. We're looking for something new. We're looking for something that we haven't really experienced yet, because I think a lot of the things that we have experienced in MMOs don't work. So we look at the history of PvP servers and everything like that, and I believe every MMO or every large MMO has officially done away with all their PvP servers. So I know for sure Final Fantasy 14 doesn't have any. I know that WoW finally got rid of their last one, and now it's like a flagging system only. So a lot of these things, these bigger MMOs that are very successful, making a ton of money, they have recognized that the PvP server in and of itself doesn't work. Now, I do think there's still opportunities for them to use these PvP missions and even maybe zones down the line to bring that experience that it's like to participate in an open world PvP setting, to bring that to life as an optional thing. And I think that's the thing that everybody's shooting for now, is they want to include those PvE players in the same game where you can provide the same experience in a PvP setting, which again, that translates to a diverse population and a larger population, because you and I both know, we just came from ESO, that a majority of MMO players right now are more focused on group PvE content, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
So moving on, the next important thing that I thought was cool, and this is kind of in the same vein, is you're going to get to choose your way to level. So basically, they gave two examples. One was someone did like hundreds of quests and got to max level. And then they also gave an example of someone who barely did any and still got to max level. So it does appear that there are multiple ways to level up and progress through this game. And for me, someone who really despises repetitive questing, this made me very happy. Bordy, what are your thoughts on again, diversifying the way to level in an MMO?
I think it's awesome, man, because this brings together everyone in the way that they're wanting to bring everyone together, right? Like, you don't have to enjoy quests. You don't have to do them. You can do very few of them, and then you can level all the way up to level 60 without having to do them, which is amazing. You can just PvP all the time if you want to, is what is the feeling that I get, right? Or you can do the other. You can quest and PvE all the time. You can level up that way too. So I think it's awesome, man. I love the choices and the options. It makes it feel a lot like a sandbox versus a theme park, and that's what they're shooting for. So I love it. I like it a lot.
Right. And, they did mention crafting as a viable way to level also. So a lot of these things are important because that's the whole, concept of an MMO is bringing all these different people together in the same game that enjoy different things, but get to play it with other people. And I know a lot of people from, we also played Crowfall as a game that's in pre-alpha right now. And we ran into a lot of people who love crafting. They love that feeling of providing gear and weaponry for people that are going to go out and use it in PvP with it, or maybe PvE, gather, whatever they're doing. They get joy out of providing that top level gear to other players, and just that little niche itself being supported in an MMO brings a whole different type of people to your game. And again, that I like people that want to craft because I hate crafting, but I also like being competitive in PvP. So I need a good crafter to provide gear for me. And so the fact that they're supporting these different play styles in a way that, again, makes the game interesting for them, I'm all for that 100%.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. So I'm going to read something that's in this article real quick, okay, if you don't mind. So there is it's the core principles of New World, right? So this is what they say in this article, that these are the core features for the game. All right. Number one, a massive supernatural world that actively confronts the players that attempt to conquer it. That to me sounds dope, right? A world that confronts the players as they attempt to conquer it. So it's always going to be fighting back. And we already know that with the Corrupted. That's really cool. Skill-based combat that is tactically deep at any scale, which we already know from multiple sources and articles that the combat has been reported to be very, very good in the game. So that's awesome. Progression systems that foster player agency. That's dope. Intersecting game systems, crafting, gathering, killing the corrupted, etc., that allow all players to contribute to group goals, and territory conquest and control systems that allow players to create and manage player-driven government. So that's basically New World in a nutshell, right? Like that's what they're trying to accomplish with all of these systems, tying them together. So I think the PvE and the PvP aspects and the way they're tying these things together with the missions and all of the things they're doing so far has been pretty creative, and I think it's going to turn out good, man. On paper, it sounds great.
Yeah, any one of these play styles can be a governor in a settlement. I think that's awesome, man. Think of the different paths you can kind of take to leadership. All of those things really kind of excite me because I've never really seen anything like that in an MMO. To the fact that, again, they're so well supported, and it seems to be that they're so well supported in New World that you can literally become one of the most powerful players in the game just off of influence alone. So if you and your group of buddies are like the highest level crafting, the highest level crafters in the game, and you're running a city that provides all of that, all of that gear and weaponry and potions, et cetera, on an open market in a settlement, do you think anybody's going to try to take over your settlement when you're supplying, all the armies with all the top level gear? Those type of mechanics or, influences that are going to happen in the game are really going to be something to see because, if they do the player-driven economy well, there will be lots of ways to, again, influence the way territories are controlled and managed.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. Overall, man, I think this article was really, I thought it was pretty informative. I thought it was really good. I thought it gave us a good baseline as to where they're at with the alpha for those of us that aren't lucky enough to be in there testing it. And I think it was really good, man. There was some very bold statements made in this, some very straightforward statements, like the one we talked about previously. No plans for full loop PvP. They have said that they are not trying to be a theme park MMO, so that's good. So
yes,
really, what I got most out of this article was now I fully understand their vision for what they're trying to do with this game. Whereas before I was kind of iffy on, okay, are they trying to do PvP, PvE? Like, where are they going with this game? What are they trying to do? And for me, this article brought a lot of things together and explained a whole lot of things. And so I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And some of the bold statements they made, they just said it outright. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, we were both a little concerned when they started talking about instances and raids and dungeons and stuff like that. And we're going to talk more about dungeons later on. But this kind of relieved that fear a lot for both of us, I think. And so here is one thing that they did add that is instance, and that is arenas, Bordy.
Hmm.
So now arenas is a new thing. It hasn't been talked about up to this point that I'm aware of in any piece of content or piece of article online. So we're gonna break this down a little bit. So arena, this is how arenas are built. In an arena, there is a difficult boss monster with mechanics that you have to memorize as a player in order to conquer it. Arena can be entered in as an instance with up to 5 players. According to the developers, the monsters are going to be challenging that a player cannot single-handedly defeat them themselves. The arena appears in the open world. As soon as a group enters the arena, they can no longer go out. So it's like a win or die type of situation. Players outside the arena cannot see the fight. If you want to enter the arena, you need a key. If the group loses to the monster, the key is gone and a new one is needed to open the challenge again. If the monster is defeated, glory, honor, and extraordinary rewards await. So basically, and this is, the best thing I can compare it to as far as what I've experienced in MMO is like a boss scroll in Black Desert Online to some extent, it seems.
Yeah, it sounds fairly similar to that as well. And whenever first off, let me just mention real quick, and I think you mentioned this before, but I just want to mention it again so people don't think this is from the official website. This is from the German website, mein-mmo.de. That's where this information is sitting. So they are the ones reporting this. We haven't seen this from the official website yet, but I think so far most of the stuff we've seen from this site has been pretty legit. So that's why we're talking about it. But whenever I first seen these arenas, I was like, oh no. Please tell me they're not putting in instanced dungeons and raids, because I do not want that in this game, man. I've already done that in so many other games, man. It's available in every other MMO you play. There's that type of content. I'm not opposed to them. I know a lot of people love that stuff, and that's fine. If that's your cup of tea, that's great. I'm happy for you. For me, it's not, and I don't want New World to be like other MMOs is the point I'm trying to make here. I do not. I want it to be a different experience. I want it to be fun. I want it to be fresh. And if they add normal instanced raids and dungeons, I think that takes away from the experience we're going to have, because we already have that. So once I started actually looking at this arena, because at first I didn't want to read it, I was like, man, no, please, no. But the arenas aren't that bad, right? Like you supposedly have to go get a key. You get this key, it opens up the arena. You have 5 players, and then it's just one boss. You go in there and you kill one boss. It's a very, very difficult boss. You kill the boss, you get the gear. So there's no like ads to pull or anything like that. Well, I guess there may be during the boss fight. I don't know the mechanics, but it's just one boss. It's not like you have to go through this entire raid. So I'm okay with it. I think it'll be fun. And I think it'll be fun because of some of the stuff we're going to talk about here in a minute. And this is why I'm not so opposed to having an instanced arena, because we have some other open world stuff that's gonna kind of offset the instance stuff, and I think it's really good. So the arenas they're okay. I'm good with it, man. At first I was not. I read it, and now I had to calm down a little bit, and I think it's gonna be fine. I think they're gonna be really fun, actually.
So here's 2 things that I think that are positive about arenas. One, it opens up a chance for like maybe boss type of loot, where maybe again you're getting maybe some higher level, or maybe, again, I've mentioned this in previous episodes, a piece of gear or 2 pieces of gear or a set of gear that opens up a new skill or changes the way your build works, right? And it seems like this boss drops or these, extraordinary rewards could be, themed towards your boss or whatever you're doing when you're inside of an arena. So this kind of opens up that possibility for raid type of gear that's going to bring new ways to play and influence the way you create your character, which I'm 100% for. 2, it's going to open up a way to, again, challenge PvE players, which all PvE players, they don't want to just go out and kill random mobs to get things to sew shirts with. They want to go out and be challenged, and I think this is one of the best ways that you can do that, is putting these high-level, instances, even if it is just small group instances, together to challenge your players. One thing I will say, again, is they just continue to talk about, Dark Souls-inspired combat. Well, what's like the biggest, most challenging thing in all of the Dark Souls and Bloodborne type of games is those bosses, man. Learning those bosses and how they attack and how they move and how to evade them is very, very challenging and very rewarding when you beat the boss. So I hope that this arena content can provide that type of experience for New World players.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to, man. It says that it's going to be very like highly unlikely that anybody's going to be able to go in there and solo one of these things, which is really, really good. I don't think we want that. I think we want a challenge when we go into these arenas. And also, if you die, if your group is wiped, you lose your key that you obtain. Now, we don't know how to obtain the key yet. It may be hard to get the key, and I would assume that it probably is. You probably have to find it somewhere or find something to get it. I don't know, but if you die, you lose the key, and then you have to go get another key to go back into that arena. So it's going to be interesting to see like the different iterations of arenas they have, and like how many there are, and if the loot changes and what you get. None of that is disclosed here. We just know that there's going to be arenas and that you're going to get rewards for beating the boss. So it's going to be fun, man. I'm okay with it. After I read it, I'm okay with it. I think it'll be a good time.
Right. It's something new. I'm okay with them adding things like this as long as they don't take away the open world experiences that we expect. And we're going to kind of transitions us into something that really made, I think, both of us happy. We talked a little bit about it before the show, but open world dungeons. Okay, so this is something that we both kind of insisted needed to be in the game. Again, to challenge PvE players and to set up points of interest for PvP players. So these are kind of the facts on open world dungeons. The developers have basically built up some areas in the New World open world like a big dungeon. In the interview, it became clear that these areas work like onions. The further you go to the center, the more difficult it gets. There you will find pairs and groups that are hard to fight as a solo player. You will encounter more named bosses opponents as you may prefer to fight with a group. So then again, man, this brings me back to, and I think you as well, to my first MMO experiences, which was in EverQuest. And in EverQuest, they had these open world dungeons that you had to fight your way through to get to the boss that dropped, a rare chance of dropping something, some piece of gear that you could obtain. And also, again, you get better experience as you go into the more group-based content. And it seems like New World's going to provide not only that experience, but even one that becomes more difficult as you continue to progress. So I'm really excited that they mentioned something about this in an article, and I know that you are too.
Yeah, dude, the open world dungeons are amazing. This is one of the reasons why I don't mind the arenas too much, because it's not just arenas, right? They're adding these open world dungeons that you can go into, and this reminds me, and I've said it a bunch of times, I'm going to get kicked in the throat by our viewers by mentioning this game again, but I don't care because I love it. It reminds me a lot of Ultima Online, man. When in Ultima Online, you went into these dungeons, every level you went down into, it got more difficult. And at the bottom, there were like harder mobs to fight. There wasn't ever like a big raid boss you had to kill, right? It's just the encounters became harder and harder and harder as you progressed through the dungeon, the levels of the dungeon. And that's exactly what this sounds like. And then you can also PvP in these things because it's just an open world dungeon. So at least that's what I'm gathering from it. So it's going to be a lot of fun, dude. I cannot wait to go down into these open world dungeons, man. It's going to be dope.
Yeah, I mean, these type of experiences in MMOs are kind of lost because everybody's into like the theme world or the theme park WoW clone type of environments where you're set up into a challenging environment. They have to learn the mechanics of all these ads and bosses to progress through to get your loot and to level up. But what's lost in those instances, I think, is the threat of, again, maybe not making it out alive because you always are just going to spawn out of your instance into the regular world where you're kind of unaffected, so to say. And also, too, you're never at risk of being player killed, right? So then when you set up that PvP, PvE type of environment where everything is kind of looming and all of these threats are present, it kind of heightens the player experience because, again, you're thinking about not only are we going too deep into this place, are we going to be able to, do we have the level and the skill to kind of complete or get down to the boss where we want to go? And not only that, but are there other people waiting in the midst of these caves that are waiting for us to kill the boss and then to kill us, or maybe they're camping for more opportunities to, again, complete their PvP missions or whatever they're doing down there. It's exactly what I'm looking for, and I hope this isn't I hope this isn't the last announcement of these point of interest type of things in the open world that they're going to add to the game.
Yeah, me too. I hope there's going to be a lot more like this. But also, it's good to keep in mind, though, that you do have to opt into PvP. So it's not like if you're a PvE player and you walk down into this dungeon, it's not like you're just going to get ganked and killed by another group, right? Like you still have to opt into PvP, and to PvP, you still have to fight somebody else that's opted in. So, yeah, which I'm going to be opting in all the time at level 10. Level 10, I'm opting in. And that's what I'm doing for the duration of the game. But so that's kind of, I think that kind of helps, with people running in there and getting ganked. So the PvE players aren't scared whenever they go in there, or annoyed. Not necessarily scared is not the right word. I guess more annoyed, because I know a lot of PvE players, they go in there, they're just wanting to PvE, man. They're not wanting to go down there and deal with somebody fighting them. So they're wanting to do their thing and get out and enjoy the game in the way they want to enjoy it. So they get real annoyed when somebody comes down there and ganks them or whatever. So hopefully there will be a reason for people to opt into PvP going down into these dungeons, and we can get some fun experiences that way. I really hope so, man. But it excites me nonetheless. I love these open world dungeon areas and the idea behind them. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Right, and this kind of goes back to a very important part of all of this, and how they're going to tie these experiences together. There has to be a really good reason to flag. And we've kind of met, PvP missions, we've kind of praised them for that as this, this key opportunity to get people to flag for PvP and go out in the world, because it's going to be a very important part of the game to, again, go through that process where you're trying to gain territory and undermine the particular government and everything like that. It's going to be a vital part of the game, so people are going to have to do it, right? They're going to have to go out in the open world and flag for PvP. But they're going to have to find other reasons why to make, entice PvE people to flag, because you want these experiences to happen. And like you had mentioned, not everybody wants to have the opportunity or the possibility of being killed in these situations. So you're going to have to really add some type of choice they're going to have to make where, I can go into this open world dungeon and not have a chance to get killed, but maybe like my drop chance for that boss loot that I really want goes down significantly if I'm not flagged. And so it'll be interesting to see what they do or add as far as incentivizing flagging just for, again, your PvE content as well.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. If they get that right, it's going to be dope. And I think they're on the right path. But if they don't get it right, then it's going to kind of suck going down to those open world dungeons without any danger to PvP for the people that want PvP. And I know both of us are a couple of those people. I want to go experience the dungeons with the threat of having somebody else attack me or fight me or whatever, or go down there and kill someone else. It heightens the experience, makes it a little more fun for me. And I hope that there's a reason to PvP down there. If not, then it's going to kind of take away from it for a lot of the PvP players. So we'll just have to wait and see how that shakes up, man.
All right, man. Well, that about wraps up the important parts of all these information. Again, you guys can go check out these articles for yourselves over at, the one of them is on the official New World page. The other one is on minemmo.com. That's the best attempt I'm going to have for MeinMMO.com. And then use Google because they translate the article for you because it's in German. So that wraps up another episode of New World to Go, Bordy. Why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, dude, you can find me over at studioloot.com, creating a bunch of content over there. That everything we know about New World post is being updated very regularly. It will be updated with this information we talked about tonight. It'll be updated very soon with that information. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/thebdlg. Yo, if you're not subbed, just go ahead and go do that. All right, please just go ahead and go hit that subscription button. But I'll be posting a lot of New World content there as well. And then, of course, Twitter is at thebdlg. And then Twitch, there's no the in front. It's just twitch.tv/BDLG. And I'll be playing and streaming a boatload of New World whenever that comes out, man, whenever it's in beta.
And I'm Redbird with a Y. You can find me at Twitch and YouTube for the same name. Over at Twitter, I am Redbird, which I say I'm going to change, but never do. So still I am Redbird for the foreseeable future. Thanks again, guys, for for listening and watching. For everybody in chat over here at the Twitch community, don't go check out studioloot.com. That's where all of our podcasts, vlogs, and or VODs, and also all of our web-based content for New World that's coming out We'll all be there. We hope to see you guys on the next episode of New World to Go.